Andor Season 2 has wrapped up.
That's right.
And what a time to be alive. Just in general.
I agree.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it?
Just at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's always interesting-ish.
Yeah.
It's always
Okay,
something
sorry,
happening.
I should clarify. Interesting and stupid. Just life now. Stupid.
Mate, it's so stupid.
In fact, I might even say that stupid more than it is interesting.
Yeah,
Because
I would
sometimes
say
I'm
so.
like, man, this is stupid, and
it's
the same.
boring.
It's the same level of stupid it was yesterday.
And
you
it's
know?
boring.
And boring, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I should walk that back. So anyway, I thought this is an interesting way to start. This is a quote from Tony Gilroy,
Oh yeah.
creator of Andor,
Oh, yeah.
Season 1 and Season 2.
Oh.
This is in regards to Kathleen Kennedy, the head of Lucasfilm.
You were going to call her Kathy Kennedy because you guys are
He's
friends.
calling her Kathy, so I thought I'd
Okay,
try,
alright.
but
Yeah,
it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
work for me.
Okay.
She has protected the show and protected me and wrangled a team together. When we started challenging Kathy just kept saying, yes. Oh, I'm going to put the first scene in a brothel. Okay. I'm going to have to kill 2 cops. Okay. We want the production designer from Chernobyl. Okay, good idea. She backed our play and got everything we were doing.
I forgot they killed those 2 cops.
That's right. We've been through everything, she and I, on this, all the good and all the bad. There's no show without her. For all the shit that she takes online, it's just insane. This show exists because she forced it to happen. What a tough job she has, man. So there you go. They also, when they spoke to Lucasfilm about doing a Season 2, they were like, I don't know, we might have to reduce the budget on this. And he's like, no, we don't do
Give me more budget.
No, we want the same budget as the first season. And they were like, otherwise we're just not going to do it. And he didn't mean, it wasn't a threat. He's just like, I can't really do this without like a proper budget.
Exactly. I'm going to need white rooms and also dirty rooms. I'm going to need normals and the British.
Yeah.
And Muppets.
And Muppets.
And more British.
Yeah. So do you know how this was initially going to start? This is without Tony Gilroy.
Tell me.
They were going to do a Cassian Andor and K2SO series.
Okay.
And it was going to be kind of weekly adventures and weekly
Mandalorian.
missions.
It's the Mandalorian.
Exactly. But Tony Gilroy looking at that was like, this is limiting. You can only do so much with this robot.
Anybody doing a series like that would eventually make a bad series. They would run out of interesting week-to-week stories.
Yeah.
Or at least they would feel they would, and then they would go, let's just add lore, and let's just add Darksabers and Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
You know?
More flips. More deep fakes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might be right. And because he said the problem with K2SO, and they pushed him back as far as they could for this series, is whenever you take him anywhere, he just has to stay on the ship. Because you can't walk around with him because you're not Imperial, and he clearly is.
Yeah.
And you can't. What do you do with that? It'd just be you land on a planet and he goes, wait here.
Plus, he's a murder bot.
He's a murder robot.
And he's barely controllable.
Yeah. It's also one of the big reasons why this happens in the way that it has is because as a hobby, as an interest, Tony Gilroy, like all men past a certain age, has a real interest in revolution throughout history.
Sure, okay.
And
Roman Empire,
etc. But like just and different, like particular like the last 100 or so years, from what we've seen, and you see that in the story and how a revolution begins, like what challenges are faced. You know what I mean? Like factions infighting, tipping points, things like that.
Sure.
And it's incredible. So like, even though a lot of these episodes, they feel very topical to things that are happening right now.
Stupid
things that are happening, but also literal genocides. That, these draw on not one particular event, but just like the patterns in history which keep repeating, which I thought was really interesting. It was also, and you know this, it was going to be 5 seasons.
That's true.
12 episodes at a time, but he was like, even Diego Luna were like, it's impossible. Like, Diego Luna would have aged out of the role.
He won't be a teenager anymore.
He won't be a teenager anymore.
Oh, look at me. I'm Cassian Andor. I'm still in high school. Embarrassing. Can't do it.
Put down the hover skateboard
That's
or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think, I mean, look, I would have loved to have seen more of this, but he's also like in his early 60s. This would have gone on for like a decade.
Tony Gilroy.
Yeah.
You're right.
So the idea was they came to the solution being that you compress all of that into one season, and you do it every 3 episodes jumps forward a year, leading up to the Battle of Yavin.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's a pretty elegant solution, I guess. And on top of that, I like the idea that you can skip over certain things. You don't need to explain literally everything. You jump in a year later, and you're like, okay, this is keep up. This is
that's right.
This happens. You know, this has happened. But you were saying you didn't like the way it was released. You don't like the 3.
I don't know if I do. I think people would be talking about it more. I mean, people are certainly talking about it. I think this is still pretty close to the dump all the This is as close, I think, as they could get to dumping every episode at the same time.
Yeah.
And instead of it being over 12 weeks, it's over 4.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to move on.
Yeah. Do you think that, because it is such a slow burn, and normally, but not always, it seemed to be like the first episode of each arc was like almost like a reintroduction and setup.
Yep.
And then it kind of kicks off
Reestablish the new status quo and the new planet,
Yes.
etc.
the new wedding, etc.
Exactly.
Yeah, and going from there. So
A quick note also, folks. In Australia, Gorman is like a cult women's clothing brand. So when they're talking about the fabric of Gorman, you got to know that a lot of Australians are like.
I didn't know that at all.
Okay, that's really interesting.
So I think the way we should do this, and feel free to disagree, is we break it up into the 4 arcs.
I disagree, but we'll do it anyway.
Okay, and there will be just full spoilers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because there's no real other way to talk about this. So it opens with 5 years before Battle of Yavin or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
4 or 5?
Not quite the golden era, but
no,
whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, it's normally 5 years after, isn't
That's
it?
true.
Return of the Jedi. But and it's Cassian Andor stealing a prototype TIE fighter, which is a Legends TIE fighter.
Oh, so that's been seen in other media.
Yeah, I mean it's a different design and whatever, but
Okay,
that
right.
particular type it's been around.
Okay, right.
And you made a really interesting point that I didn't pick up on, because he's using somebody on the inside, an Imperial, to work his way in there.
Yeah, she is. I don't know. She's some sort of admin. She's some sort of administrator on this base, and she is going to die.
Yeah.
Like even if he got,
I thought she was going with him.
yeah, if he's clearly charmed his way in with her.
Yeah.
And even if this went all to plan, which it obviously didn't, even if he got away scot-free, they're going to find her and kill her. And he's like, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. That's he's, there's so many parallels between him and like Luthen, but just willing to kill people just because I mean, he's less of a psychopath than Luthen is. I think because also he's more hands-on. Like he's literally...
Yeah.
He's literally has to do the running about.
And I think Luthen's constant adding and removing of his wig has rattled his brain around.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the way.
Same with Saw Gerrera.
Oh, yeah.
He wears a wig.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right, Mason. God, there's a lot of blokes being rattled in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people killing themselves as well.
A lot of that.
Not
too.
a lot. Not a lot for a lot of TV shows.
More than you'd think.
More
for
than you'd
Star
think for
Wars.
Star Wars. Certainly,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I just think it's a really interesting jumping off point, because it's not a big epic kind of mission. It's not tied really to anything else.
TIE fighter.
Thank you. You don't even really know why he's doing it.
Yeah.
Like they don't. There's not a ship that shows up later.
No.
Was it the first one? And if they destroy the prototype, they can't make these.
Yeah. Are they going to use the technology in their own fighters?
Yeah.
Because they buy X fighters off the shelf.
It seems that way. Yeah. I just thought that was all very
X-Wings,
interesting.
sorry, not X-fighters.
That's fine.
Yeah, whatever.
People know, and people know and think that's good.
And
what
they
he's
forgive.
done.
And they forgive.
That's right. Yeah, I think, and and then there's obviously what I think is great as well, when he crash lands on a planet, which, surprise, surprise, turns out to be Yavin. I love that reveal, by the way. I think that's like the right kind of fan service.
Right.
I thought that was terrific. And there was a moment for me where I'm like, I remember watching it and I was like, oh, like I think I was out loud. I'm like, that's very good.
That's very good.
Very good.
That's very good, Andor.
But seeing the two factions of rebels, well, they're not. They're one faction becoming two, just squabbling over.
Yeah, I like that. I think I mentioned that when we talked about it a few weeks ago. The idea that I like the constant cutting between the rebels squabbling and shooting at each other or whatever, and the big luxurious briefing room of the Empire just going like, who wants to do some evil? Let's all do it together.
Yeah,
I'm having a great time doing evil. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So I think also I just find him really compelling in terms of like, he is like an everyman and he's very persuasive. Like he's very lucky and he's skilled, but he's not invincible. Well, we know that because he gets shot by a big laser.
And he went to prison
for a long time. For a long time. He did. Yeah, there is this moment, I guess we'll talk about it a bit later, where Luthen is like, What are you? What is this?
Right.
Like, it's always you. You're always around. Like, even he recognizes that, like, you shouldn't be capable of any of this. Why do you keep showing up in this universe and have this incredible luck? And some people just are lucky. I think, he even says that, like, I'm just lucky. And he is.
He's got some of that Han Solo luck.
Yeah, but also, he's got some of it.
Yeah.
But then it also, like, it does also feel like he knows he's going to die.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, and he's just on this, but he just keeps barreling forward. He's the best one.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like, I have to do this.
Say he's your hero?
Yeah, he's probably my hero.
More than your dad?
Yeah, probably.
Well, all right. Yeah.
Would you say he's your hero more than my dad too?
I would say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Easily, actually.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even have to think about it.
This also had this first arc had a very controversial moment, which is introducing sexual assault into the Star Wars universe.
It's true.
So this is something you want to skip. Absolutely fair enough. Collings will put time codes below. And I know there was a bit of an uproar in terms of like, this is not something I want to see in a Star Wars show, which also like I can understand.
But also a lot of people like, there's so many things that I don't want to see in a Star Wars show, including bricks and fasteners and the wrong colored lightsaber and
like a long conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Etc. Yeah. But I thought, and look, I haven't experienced anything like this, but it did feel very realistic and very well done. And I thought it was, I don't know, I think it didn't feel like, it was awful to watch, but it didn't feel like, I don't know, like grimy and like heavy-handed in a, like, do you know what I mean? I didn't make light of it. I thought it was well handled. I thought it was like, the acting was incredible. And it also is something that realistically happens in situations like this. People with like, get like a sliver of power. Yeah. And they use that to be the worst version.
That's an ongoing thing in this. It's just a lot of people with the tiniest sliver of power and, on the Imperial side, just being the worst people they can be.
Yeah.
And everybody's, what I like about Andor generally is you get to see on kind of a micro level how scary a lot of this stuff is. Like when we talk about, in the previous season, there was a bunch of stuff with the good guys versus one TIE fighter, and you see how, and again, this season sort of turns that on its head, where Cassian, finally takes off the, he gets the TIE fighter going, he shows back up on the farm planet, and he's like, I'm gonna kill everybody.
That's an incredible moment. How terrifying,
But in this, obviously, everybody below Dedra is afraid of her.
Yeah.
And she's afraid of Krennic.
Yeah, and Krennic's afraid of Tarkin.
Yeah.
And whatever.
And Tarkin's killed by Darth Vader.
Yeah,
he's not afraid of Darth Vader.
Well, no, Tarkin's killed by the Death Star exploding.
Yeah, that's actually true.
That's probably what got him in the end.
Tarkin should have been afraid of proton torpedoes.
Yeah,
or vents.
Yeah, I'm really glad Tarkin wasn't in this, because I just started rewatching Rogue One. I'm like 10 minutes in, and he shows up, and I'm like, I fucking hate this.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
you're gonna love that post credits.
Maybe. I didn't like it at the time, and I like it even less now.
I also liked ultimately, and this is breaking.
Recast it.
This is breaking your arc format here, but I just liked that a lot of the bad guys were just undone by the system that hates them, and it's just using them. Like Dedra did everything right.
Yep.
In her opinion.
Same with Cyril.
And they just as soon as they weren't useful to the top brass, they're done.
That's the thing. I think a lot of this. And you see it in particularly in Cyril, and we're jumping around a bit. And you see it online.
James, new format, jumping around a bit.
And you see it a lot online, and you see it, certain influencers, and they'll go down this rabbit hole. It ultimately, like, the people that you are protecting or serving or sucking up to, they don't care about you. You're a ghoul,
Do you remember that guy?
And there are worse ghouls than you.
Do you remember that guy in the previous Trump administration, and he was like a big businessman, and he gave up all his businesses or whatever, and he went to work for Trump, and then he got fired after like 2 weeks? Remember that guy?
Which was an Anthony Scaramucci.
Yes, that guy.
But also like the My Pillow guy.
Right.
Threw away his entire business. Yeah. Like you see that happening, and it's not exclusive to Trump, but you see that happening again and again, like people just burning everything. I mean, you look at like the dude from the It crowd who went down the anti-trans rabbit hole, which is a bit different than this. But it's still like he lost his entire family.
Yeah.
For what? What are you doing? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. But like, the thing is, you're useful until you're not.
Yeah.
If you lose a platform, you're gone. Like it doesn't. You don't exist anymore. They don't care about you.
Back to talking about Andor.
Yeah. No, this is all the same.
Okay, great. Who's the guy above? Who's the guy? He's sort of on par with Krennic.
Oh. The dude in the ISB or whatever. Yeah. He's great.
Like, again, we're cutting right to the end of this.
That's okay.
But like as soon as he discovers that he is inadvertently, he and his team have sort of inadvertently let the Death Star plans to the rebels, he's just like, well, I'm going to be killed in one of various ways. I better take the initiative here.
There's also a really interesting moment where him and Krennic are talking, and Krennic calls him by his first name, which I think is Leo. And that's such an interesting moment because it implies that, these guys know each other, or maybe they came up together, maybe Krennic, because he's a bit older, maybe Krennic worked for this guy. And it's a moment of like, Krennic, like, likes this guy, or at the very least respects him enough.
Yeah, right.
To, you know,
Major Partagas, Anton Lesser. Great performance from that guy.
Incredible. What a room, too.
Look, I mean, another way we could format this review is to just name all the actors and go, well done.
Really
this was really good. In fact, if I may do that, Elizabeth Dulau as Clea, who's Luthen's assistant. This is apparently her first job. Like her first acting job.
I think she's done theatre.
Yeah, she doesn't even have a blue link in Wikipedia.
Or a blue check mark on Twitter.
That's so true. But she's Luthen's assistant and, of course, is part of the Rebel communications apparatus. But she's great in this.
So good.
And apparently, because in the final arc, there is an episode where we see Luthen and Clea's relationship, like how it started. And apparently Tony Gilroy did that. I read this in an interview because he thought people are going to look at these two and wonder about the relationship and speculate on it. Yeah. So he was like, he doesn't want people to think that they had some sort of inappropriate romantic relationship or like he forced her to be part of this.
If anything,
so he just made this episode and it's an incredible episode.
And what's interesting about that is because it seems like he's some kind of maybe Imperial or he worked, or we don't really know. It seems that maybe he was a planetary kind of, operation that was working at the behest of the Empire. We don't know, but it seems as if he was taking part in a massacre of her people and takes her on board. And I was watching some behind the scenes stuff and reading about it where like she hates him like for that reason, but also he's this father figure. So it's this complicated relationship. Yeah. And that duality and what she feels for him, that doesn't change over the years. Yes. And she, in hindsight, she's driving him. She's really running a lot of this. And he's using his resources and like he's doing things that was almost to make up for her and the things that he's done. Like that's why he's doing it. It's just like pure guilt. Also, like a lot of people in the show and like the more fringe rebels, he's completely insane. Yeah. And is just willing to just, well, as he says in the first season, like just burn his entire life and reputation for something that's, he won't see any of the benefits for. Yeah. Genevieve O'Reilly's amazing as Mon Mothma. The arc, the wedding arc's great. I mean, she has that great dance moment, obviously. But there's that one shot where she's walking around through the home and like meeting people and introducing like that fake Australian guy who you like. All of that's incredible. And there's the moment where, because she makes the deal with the guy in the first season, the old friend of hers. Who's a very convenient ally for like the Rebel Alliance until it isn't anymore. And
then he's like, I don't have the money. I don't have anything. Sorry.
Again, which is like, that's not uncommon. It's all well and good to be like, no, this is something I believe in and I'll stand up for it until like, no, this is going to actually cost you something personally. And then that changes. Anyway, shoots everyone in the TIE fighter. That's great. That's great stuff, Mason.
That's great stuff.
When you lose Brasso in that first episode as well, first arc as well, he dies at the end. You get the one stormtrooper who can shoot.
That's
shoots
right.
him. Yeah. Also, like you don't even see that. Like you see a stormtrooper like take the shot. Yes. But you don't realize what's happened till afterwards.
Because you're casting, you're having too much fun in that TIE fighter. And like I'll check on that guy on the bike later. It's fine.
That looked like a fun thing to do. Kill all those stormtroopers. So I guess getting into Arc 2, that's where we see fancy Cassian Andor with his fancy outfit.
Yeah.
I mean, you would love the outfits.
The outfits are so good.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like same with the last season. Just they've built like an entire fashion world, and all the colors are great, and kind of it isn't just Jedi robes and etc.
Sand planets,
and
didn't even see a sand planet really.
That's true.
God, how did they not put Tatooine in this? How did they manage to do that?
They restrain themselves.
Yeah, I guess that makes, because also it's like Tatooine's a nothing world, and you don't need to.
Tony Gilroy probably took the CD-ROM out of the volume, so they couldn't use all the Tatooine backgrounds anymore. He snapped it.
Good. I'm glad that. I'm hoping he did do that.
He hit it.
Speaking of like world building, they built an entire fake French language in this.
Yeah, right.
When I was like, I don't speak French, obviously, but when they're talking, I'm like, is this fucking French? I think it's, or is it some regional dialect that I don't know? And no, they created this word by word, and it's got like, you know, the flow,
The grammar.
of French. Apparently, it's similar to Esperanto, like the French version of that.
The fake language that they speak in Red Dwarf.
Do they?
They do. They speak Esperanto.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, loved all of that. This is also where the Gorman art kicks off. So you might be
Speaking of fashion.
familiar with this. There was already a Gorman massacre in Legends and in canon.
Oh, I see.
And they
right.
managed to integrate that into this by
Right.
saying it's something that Tarkin did.
I see.
I like the presence of Tarkin in this, where like he's spoken about and everybody universally agrees that he's terrible, but you don't need to see him.
That's correct, because the motion capture would be bad.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think again you could recast him. That's totally okay.
Agreed,
We'll talk about a recast, but I don't. And there's that moment, you know, where the Imperials are sitting down, and it's similar to the way they.
There's a lot of moments where the Imperials are sitting down.
Well, it's the one with Ben Mendo.
Yeah.
And they're talking about basically doing.
He's a real diva in this, isn't he?
really is.
He's more of a diva than he was in the movie.
I like that for
Yeah.
him though. I like his little cape and his swooshing about.
Absolutely.
So
His formal cape? Are you kidding me? My God.
there's a movie, and this is based on a real event called Conspiracy from 2001, and where it's basically the Nazis sit down and go, how are we going to do extermination?
Right.
And that's what this is.
Oh.
And I think that's... I gotta watch that movie as well. It's on my list. But I think, you know, the idea they're going through, well, you know, we'll use the media, we'll weaponize the media to sway opinion. We'll
That's right.
put hints here and there about what's going on and all of that. And then, you know, by the time, you know, things escalate.
Everybody will be on.
Everybody's-
All the fancy people on the fancy planets will be on board with it.
And you see that all the time, and you're seeing it in Gaza. Sorry to get political.
Yep.
Where like the justification for this often is like, well, these aren't good people. These are subhuman, and the children are only going to grow up to be terrorists or whatever. So, and they're justifying their actions. And it's, you know, again, this isn't based specifically on that, but you know,
But it's happened a bunch of times throughout history.
yeah. So bad stuff, but just and infiltrating and like using Cyril to infiltrate the resistance
That's
and all.
right,
I mean, he's incredible. What a performance.
Yeah.
What a
Him and Denise
Dedra.
Gow
Yeah.
as Dedra just doing a great job, because they seem super nice in real life.
yeah,
They're
they
just-
do, don't they? Yeah. I think the way, again, like using him to do this, and he's so keen to help. And I think we were talking about this. He's the kind of guy, the kind of character. Well, Tony Gilroy also said that's a character that works in any universe. Like you could put him in The Office.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he would work.
Yeah. Just
you know?
just overly kind of
Like a rule follower.
Yeah.
Wants to do what's right, but
kind
has
of a snitch also.
kind of a snitch. Yeah, and in a just universe, he would be a good guy.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
Like, but of course, this is not a just universe or this particular point in time, and I think that's so interesting.
Yeah. Also, overbearing mother-in-law. They
Yep.
managed to squeeze in the overbearing mother-in-law
right, yeah.
subplot into this.
How did they do that? And we haven't even talked about it that much yet. Oh, we did a little bit, but Bix, you know, she's having those recurring nightmares
Yeah.
about the torture. What a satisfying moment where there's no build up to it, like her hunting this guy down.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
don't plan it out. He just goes to his office and she's just there.
And she's like, "Would you like some torture?"
I love all of that. I thought that was such a satisfying moment.
Yeah.
In this series, and there's a bunch of moments like that, which I think is terrific. Anyway, Arc 3, I guess we'll move on to that, which is where we get the actual Gorman massacre. Again, it's like burning a nation to the ground for natural resources. Again, we've seen it time and time again. That's blah blah blah, etc.
Blah-de-be, bloobity, blobity.
But there's also the introduction, I think, for the first time in this series of like a mystical force person.
Yes, the
And
only
it's
the
not
only one.
a
Yeah.
Jedi.
No.
Yeah.
It's a woo-woo woman.
Yeah.
It's a woo-woo Healy woman.
Yeah. I think that's great because she obviously senses him. And but she's not attuned enough in the Force to kind of know. Like she knows it's important, but doesn't know
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
And he also gets that sense of that, and it kind of freaks him out
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
It's probably all his luck.
Yeah, it's all his luck. Like she knows that he's gonna die when a big laser hits him
That's
or,
true.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
yeah.
I'm seeing the biggest laser you've ever thought of. Bigger than that. Nah, bigger than that, actually. Yeah. Think of it even bigger. Think of the biggest laser you've ever seen. Way bigger.
That's right, yeah. And the build-up of that massacre, and you compare that to like there's the revolution in the first series that happens on Ferrix. Ferrix, is it?
Ferris Bueller's
Ferris Bueller.
Day Off.
And that's kind of a
It happens on Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
That's more of a spontaneous, unexpected event. And it's clearly got to the point where the Empire is good at manufacturing this, and you see like putting up the barriers and like that slow build and like drawing people in and closing off the circle and all of that. It's so harrowing, and you know what's going to happen, and they're just, but also like they have to be there, they have to do it, you know, like a lot of them kind of know it's a trap, but it's like,
yeah, absolutely,
well,
yeah.
this is our whole planet. This is our planet. You
yeah,
know? We gotta,
that's right. Yeah,
we gotta, you know, we need to do this. And Cyril
we're
realized
gonna die regardless. So
yeah, and Cyril realizing that, you know, the Empire used him and Dedra used him specifically, and flips out and realize, and then great fight with Cassian, by the way,
who's like, I don't know who you are. I don't. Which, you know, obviously, you know, there's a similar moment played in Endgame.
Yeah.
You know, where Thanos says that to Scarlet Witch, but I don't think Tony Gilroy's seen that movie.
I think you're right, but I think that's also so. And I didn't even realize, because I'm like, oh, what if Cassian runs into this guy? What's Cassian going to do? And I'm like, oh, you probably wouldn't even recognize him.
Yeah.
Like, they very briefly cross paths. He hasn't thought about this guy, like, at all. Like, that moment is so... he's killed so many people.
That's right.
So much.
Yeah, I've left so many people to die. I left what's-her-name and that TIE fighter hangar.
Yeah. Like, his whole trajectory is... has been this man, and he would have had the image of him just burned into his brain.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And he won. Like, he won the fight.
Yeah.
But he was...
and then somebody else got him.
I think that's incredible. Yeah. That also, this moment, they introduced K2SO finally. Now, this overwrote a comic which we read for the Big Sandwich Comic Book Club. Yeah. We read the K2SO origin comic.
Oh, yeah. Okay, right.
And everybody agrees that who cares?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who cares about that?
Yeah. But I mean, it's the same with every piece of expanded media that ever existed for Star Wars. If the movie's over, the movie or the
live action
or the cartoon or whatever overrides the book or the comic book, that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. And also, I think there's also Alex from Star Wars Explained, Alex and Molly. They've got a great channel. They've got lots of videos on this, but like, he's a real canon junkie, and this kind of stuff does bother him.
You know who else was a canon junkie?
Who?
Napoleon Bonaparte.
That's true.
Yeah, he loved him. He freaking loved him.
But his solution to this was, well, they agree at the end that, like, we're going to keep this off the books. Like, the thing that happened, the massacre of this robot. Yeah, right. And so maybe that story is the story that they tell.
Yeah, okay, everyone. Sure. Okay, that works.
So, like, you can look at it that way. But also, like, I ultimately don't care. I'm happy to wipe something out for something better, but not in a bad way. You know what I mean? But did you know that there was initially going to be a whole episode dedicated to K2SO, where a bunch of them are on a ship heading somewhere, and he's on it.
Oh, a bunch of K2SO model robots.
No, but there's just one. So it's like Alien.
Oh, okay.
And that was going to be a whole episode, but it didn't work in the budget and timing-wise or whatever. I would have loved to have seen that, because it kind of did feel a bit like, oh, you hit him with the ship. Oh, I'm going to take this with me. Like, why? Is this really a thing that you do normally? Right. I don't know. It felt a bit kind of... I don't know. There's a minor... There's a minor thing or whatever. Also, this arc also recast Bail Organa.
It does, with Benjamin Bratt, yeah.
I thought he was good.
I think it was good too, yeah.
They mentioned that it was Jimmy Smits couldn't do it.
Scheduling
conflict. And I think they might have mentioned Dexter specifically. But a lot of this filmed in like 2022, 2023. Okay. I think it might have been like a money thing.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah, right. Why don't you just dig into Jimmy Smits' business?
Maybe I mean, look, I will.
Good.
If I ever see him.
Yeah.
I think I guess it is a bit jarring because it's literally a different guy, but I thought Benjamin Bratt was really good. I thought he filled that role really well, and they clearly introduced him just briefly at the end of one of
What
those
about
episodes.
Jimmy Smits' motion capture, though? Get another.
I mean, that would have been way better.
You use all his motion capture from Law and Order?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Obi-Wan TV series, which he's in.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, because it's not like he's... Like, he comes back for stuff all the time. Like, he was in Rogue One, you know? He's not against it. So, I don't know. It's fine. Again, it is what it is. He needed to be in it, so they put him in it.
Why don't you simply believe his press release that said scheduling?
You're right, I will.
It's probably doing something else.
They're also talking about putting Princess Leia in this at one point.
Right.
And Tony Gilroy was talking about, speaking to like Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni about that, like how this would look. And he was like, this is annoying and distracting. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, right.
So I think that's totally fine. This is also where they bring in the line, rebellions were built on hope. You know, that
Correct,
guy says it. So this came from Tony Gilroy's son. He said, my son is a big Star Wars fan. And
he said he saw that movie Rogue One.
He goes, remember that?
Yeah.
And he comes to the house and he busts my balls on the computer about how little I know. One day he's there at the house and he's goofballing on me and he's like, well, who's going to introduce the rebellions and build on hope? And I go, what do you mean? And he goes, well, in Rogue One, Diego says it and Jin repeats it. And I go, well, isn't that from somewhere? And he goes, no, man, what are you talking about? You better figure that out.
Okay, right.
Yeah, it's fine. I think you could also not put that in. And but you know, some lines come from somewhere.
That's so true, isn't it?
Oh, and also, he didn't put in Tarkin or Vader. This is talks to Deadline because it was like, if I needed them, I would have brought them in.
There it is.
And I think that's also like, if you look at Rogue One as a sequel to this, and it is, he's in that, isn't he?
He is, sure is.
Both of those guys are in that.
Whoosh, 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 and so forth.
That movie.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think he also said something along the lines of, you know, Cassian never finds his sister.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, that's...
So people are like, is it Clea? And he's like, nah.
Yeah.
That's someone else.
Someone else, yeah. Because, he's, you know, the idea being that he's doing all the stuff he does because of this thing that he could never solve. And kind of, if she came back...
He'd be like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah. I'll go back to that Miami planet. But this time I won't get arrested.
I won't get arrested. I'll make sure of it.
That's right.
They'll never get me this time.
That's right.
Yeah, they probably get it. They probably get him eventually. So Arc 4.
Yeah.
We get the death of Lonnie.
That's true, yeah.
So hard. Yeah. I mean, look, to be fair...
did the Empire get him?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
No, Luthen shot him.
I'm pretty sure Luthen just shot him.
Yeah.
I think that's so... I mean, he had to.
Yeah.
Like, when I saw it, I'm like, that sucks, but also completely justified. Like, that's... He would own...
You've been justifying a lot of murder lately, James. What's going on there?
I would never. I would have found a better solution for it. But he's like... He even gives him the hope. He names the planet where he's going to go to with his family, and he still just shoots him. And that confrontation with Dedra and Luthen, I thought that was when she comes in. I was like, oh, is she testing him? Is this like an investigation? Because why would she come on her own? Like she would know he's dangerous, and then it's revealed that she knows it's him, and he's walked into a trap.
You've got stupid wigs. We all know.
Yeah, and and then it was like, oh no, she botched this. Like she got too confident and like,
she should have called for backup.
Yeah, and she did, but they were all outside. Yeah, and I mean, he should have had a better way to kill himself.
Yeah.
To be fair, also, yeah.
Not an antique knife of, not a relic.
Yeah. But them talking
maybe a blaster.
Yeah. Them talking to each other.
Poisoned wig.
Poisoned wigs. He puts on a second wig.
Yeah. It's like it's like when somebody has a cyanide pill in their teeth. You just push down really hard on the wig and it cracks the pill.
I was going to say, there's a line where he says something like, oh, 2 of the items in here aren't legit.
You're right.
And it's like, well, that could be said for those 2 because they're both pretending to be.
Oh, I see. Right,
I'm like, oh, that's good if that meant that.
Yeah, but of course that leads up to, what's her name? I've forgotten.
Hospital.
Yes, Clea infiltrating / shooting her way through the hospital, and that's great,
And they think it's 3 people.
Yeah.
And that's also the moment where you realize that like, oh yeah, no, she doesn't like work for him.
Yeah,
like that they're a team.
She tolerates him and his stupid wigs mostly.
Also, as she's doing that, I'm thinking like, is this a rescue? Why would you do this? This seems pointless. You're not like he's dying. Like you're not going to be able to get. How are you going to wheel him out of there?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, this isn't a rescue. This is
Lonnie version 2.
Yeah, that's right.
She just needs to get close to him.
This is a murder. Yeah, but you see almost when he dies, it seems like relief, where he's kind of like, okay,
yeah.
Thank God. Like, I've had enough of stupid wigs and running around. I do kind of wish he, like, I don't know, he went out in a big explosion or something.
Okay.
But I guess that's not what happens. Sometimes you just, like, I mean, he knew he wasn't gonna have some spectacular death or,
that's true.
Moment of triumph. He was just like, oh, you're too late. I already formed the Rebel Alliance. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And then that was pretty much it. Yeah. I love that moment as well. The bit where at the very end they call Saw Gerrera. And they're like, Saw Gerrera, we know you're on Jeddah.
No, I'm not.
And he's like, you don't know anything about me. You're on Jeddah, if anything. It's like, dude, come on. Why are you like this? Oh, because you've been huffing fucking hyperfuel or whatever for decades.
No, it could be anywhere.
Yeah, it could be anywhere.
This does look like the Jeddah food court, but it's a chain, it could be on any planet.
Yeah. And also that full circle, like coming back to Nemec's manifesto, which we find out has been like spreading throughout the galaxy.
That's right. Because even a one little weedy little man can make a difference.
Yeah, and they don't even know like where it's from. But I'm assuming like Cassian Andor, they must have put it out there, I guess.
Maybe.
It's just spreading system to system.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think he knows he's going to die, right? And Bix leaves him because she knows that he was going to leave. Like he was like, I'll do this for you.
Yeah.
I will talk about her again in a bit, her ending. But there's the moment where, I don't know, I thought it was just a nice little moment where before he goes, he waters his plant.
Right.
And like,
he puts on his Cassian.
Yeah,
he puts on his signature Cassian Andor Rogue One outfit.
And I think, like, he might not have known that he was going to die on this particular mission, but like the watering the plants, like that's not for him.
No, it's for the plants.
It's for the plants, and it's for the next. It's the next generation. You know, it's the next people to step up.
Star Wars, the next generation.
Yeah, it's for Luke Skywalker to come in and steal all the glory at the last second.
That's exactly right. Yes,
this guy's just been running around madly. Yeah,
Luke, you get this Medal of Honor, and you get all these plants we got out of some guy's apartment. He's not going to be needing him. He's dead. And a coward, I heard.
Yeah. How do you feel about him having a child at the end?
I mean, if it's Poe Dameron.
It's not.
No, I know it's not.
I would hate that. It's not because I mean, they can change origins.
But his origin is established, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, his parents were in the rebellion and whatever.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
and Bix has a nice ending, and she goes back to the planet where a bunch of horrible stuff happens, but she doesn't let it define her. She's just like, I'm going back to the planet because I like it. It's pretty good.
It's good. It's got wheat.
It's got wheat and
that's right. I killed that guy.
It's got wheat and an outside table. You know,
that's good.
That's all you need.
You know, Tony Gilroy, he said that's actually baby Luke Skywalker.
No, he didn't.
Isn't that interesting? That's Luke Skywalker.
Wow. Wow. Actually.
Yeah, I would also really like, and it's probably not going to happen. He doesn't have to. That baby doesn't have to be anybody.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it's like the broom kid. Like you don't have to.
Yeah,
it's just
doesn't have to be a Palpatine.
No, or like he grows up and they're like, your father was important and now you're important. Yeah, it's like no, like maybe he lives the life that his father wanted to live.
Yeah,
you know, like that. Maybe that's the point.
Maybe that's the point.
That's the sacrifice, really.
Yeah. Unless they blow up this planet in a sequel.
In a comic.
In a comic. Or or in Star Wars Episode 10 or whatever.
Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like you mentioned, like, there's no sister. Kino Loy doesn't come back.
Yep.
Which is, again, apparently they discussed it, but he was like, I don't know, what would I do with that?
Yeah.
Like, he kind of had his moment. He did his speech. Like, he was needed at that particular...
And he inspired another thing, yeah.
You know, and what's his name's there? His mate from Rogue One. He lives with
Melshi.
They're playing cards together.
Yeah.
That's good. Like that's all great.
He's there and it's good.
Yeah. What a great show.
I agree.
And now everything's bad. Back to cowboy hat Star Wars.
What's some other stuff? Dedra ends up in prison. Speaking of Ken O'Loy, she ends up in not the exact same prison, but
maybe
pretty sure the same prison. So like a similar one. There's a moment where I'm like, is she just going to step on the floor and kill herself?
Yeah.
Like, is there going to be another one of this? We're going to do a hat trick of people trying to kill themselves?
I could see her working her way up to, like, running that room.
Yeah, right.
But also dying in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
again, like...
But again, because she did everything she thought she was supposed to do, but the organization was like, nah, don't need you anymore.
She was right. Yeah. Like, she found him, but she didn't do it the right way.
Yeah.
I love... there's a moment where... You know, when they get cornered in his old apartment and the K2SO is just coming down the corridor, oh, God.
Human shielding that guy.
Mate,
for no reason. Because K2SO is bulletproof for the most part. So, like, and that, a real satisfying death of that guy as well. Just
ragged on.
Just an awful Imperial guy who's just popped up every once in a while to be awful. And then just to have K2 just be like, I could use this guy for a minute. Why not?
Why not? No, I say back to Cowboy Hat Star Wars, which is the Dave Filoni stuff. Now, I don't even...
And the John Favreau stuff.
And the John Favreau stuff,
I saw this pointed out on Twitter recently, and it is true that John Favreau, director of Iron Man, one of the best Marvel movies, is also largely to blame for a lot of the Cowboy Hat Star Wars. Because he wrote or directed most of...
The Mandalorian.
Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, but also, like... I would also say that a lot of that is good. And like, so me saying that...
You can say that if
it
you
is
want.
true. Like, Mandalorian Season 1 and 2 are good. other things are good.
Other things are good,
There's
man.
some really good animated stuff. I mean, that Clone Wars finale is incredible. Like, there is a lot of really good stuff. I don't like that it's all seems to be coming from, like, the same creative minds.
Right,
I mean, the idea that... Okay, I saw this on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
There was a...
Here we bloody go.
So this comes from...
You bloody posted on Reddit, didn't you?
This is from Joanna Robinson.
Okay.
Who you might know. She wrote that...
I know Joanna Lumley.
She wrote that... No. Oh. She wrote that How the MCU Conquered Hollywood book.
Oh, yeah. No, I do.
So she's a very famous Hollywood insider. She knows a lot about kind of the goings-on. And she said she's been hearing for years that people at Lucasfilm don't, outside of Kathleen Kennedy, who loves Tony Gilroy, don't really like Andor. And they don't like the way people always talk about Andor being the quote-unquote good one.
Right.
And like all that sort of stuff like that. I've heard from so many other people who have gone in to pitch to Lucasfilm and have not made it past the Filoni wall. And Tony Gilroy sort of snuck his way around via his relationship with Kathleen Kennedy. Now, this may or may not be true.
Right.
But I think there is something to be said for they need to open up Star Wars to more creatives.
Yep.
And I think a really good example was
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge, for example, which you already did it. But, you know, what if she was a robot again?
Oh, that Octopus documentary came out. You know, she made a 2-part.
Oh, did she?
For Amazon.
Great.
Octopus.
I'm really excited.
Me too.
Does it keep looking at the camera and going, I love rooting?
Maybe.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think...
Relatable.
Here's a really good example of, I think... You remember Star Wars games in the 90s?
Sure.
They just gave them to a bunch of different studios.
Yeah,
and they're not
true.
all good,
Uh-huh.
but a lot of them are really good.
Correct.
And that's because they were allowed them to explore different genres of video games, different creative teams, different scales in terms of budget, all of that.
That's true.
And it does feel like that we're going back to the same characters. And they're like, well, what if Ahsoka was alive? Or, like, great. Like, I don't know. I feel like they're in love with these characters that I think a lot of them also ran their course.
Right.
And I think also the fact that, like, if you look at what happened to the book of Boba Fett, like...
The Book of Boba Fett.
Like, the Grogu and the Mandalorian, like, that ran its course and he found Luke Skywalker, right? And that was, like, that arc was done. And maybe even the story is done. And then they just reversed it because it's like, well, we love these characters. And it's like, yeah, but maybe... you could give some of them an ending or something.
Sure.
I don't know. I just think I don't know. Again, not all even bad. I mean, there was that recent one, Jude Law, Skeleton Crew. That was pretty good.
It's pretty good.
You know, but...
I thought The Acolyte, for the most part, was pretty good.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Well, not all Star Wars for you. Sorry, James.
No, it's absolutely not. And that's the other thing.
Sorry you're so bitter about it.
I don't want everything to be this. Like, it shouldn't be. Like, this is completely inaccessible to a child.
Right.
Like, I couldn't show this to my son. He'd be like, I don't understand this. Or like, maybe I'm not giving enough credit, but like...
Is Stellan Skarsgård playing two people? He'd keep asking. And you have to be like, no, the man's wearing a wig for some of his scenes.
You know what? I'm probably not giving him enough credit. He probably would like it. But
I like Lonnie so much. I hope he has a nice, happy ending.
no, he gets shot.
dies, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, son.
You might think he also dies.
He's betrayed by a man he considers to be a friend who has shared secrets about his family. Shoots him leaves him on a bench or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just think I don't know whether Tony Gilroy would ever come back and do anything. Maybe he should, but I obviously wouldn't be against that. But yeah, it does feel a bit. And I had a similar feeling. I remember when Revenge of the Sith wrapped up. Even though, like, I don't love
Elated.
I didn't love the prequels, but it really felt like, oh, Star Wars is done. It's over.
Right.
And I do kind of have that feeling now. And I don't really think that because I think they'll keep making it. And sometime between now and the next 20 to 30 years, there will be something as good as this if they just keep going.
That's true.
But I don't know. I do get a sense of like, oh, this was like a real era of a thing that's probably not going to happen again anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully, and maybe Kathleen Kennedy, who again, he's largely responsible for this, will see how people reacted to it, and that will change. I'm hoping that's the case because I want to watch things that I like.
Me too.
Yeah. It's a great show.
I
It's
agree.
fucking incredible. It shouldn't be this good.
Yeah.
I don't know how this happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd they spend so much money on this?
Yeah.
And you can see it.
And like
in the acting and the setup.
I
and
would have
such.
also loved more of it, but
Well.
I also understand that
You're a big greedy guts.
I'm a big greedy guts and I shouldn't be. All right, should we move it along?
Let's move it along.
To what?
What we're reading.
What?
What we're going to read.
What?
Yeah.